So that's what the discount is. It's buying that rate down to a lower rate.
Which means you're going to pay some difference in the future?
One time. It's a one-time fee for a permanent rate lock.
Okay, so you're paying a fee to have a lower interest rate.
That's right. That's right.
Did you know that? I didn't know that. How much are closing costs for buying a house? It costs you a little money just to purchase the home because there's other people involved and they all get paid too. So today I thought I'd have my favorite guest on, Rebecca Pierce with New American Funding. She's my favorite lender. She helps you hold your hand through the whole process. She's fantastic. And she's going to talk about closing costs, what they are, and really why you have to pay them. It's just a part of the deal. Hey, Rebecca, here we are again. Hi.
Good morning.
Closing costs, they can be kind of a surprise sometimes.
Yes.
I don't know why people don't know about them. That kind of scares me. But I suppose there's been an incident where people are signing their final papers and they're like, so what's all this? And they see all the charges, and I can't imagine not knowing this ahead of time, right? So we're going to take some time here and talk about the whole picture of closing costs, because some people have heard of it, some people haven't. So go on, get started, and let's dig into this. What are closing costs?
That's a great question, Anita. So mostly it's first-time homebuyers who have no idea that there are closing costs involved. They just think they got to have a down payment and that's it. But they can add up significantly, up to $10,000 or more. So let's talk about that. There's two different kinds of closing costs. Okay. One of them are lender, true, title, all that's closing cost. The other are prepaid costs that you are prepaying in advance. So talking about the closing costs first, there are lender fees, and then there's possible discount points. Anymore in our market, a going rate usually has discount points. You can have 0 discount points, but your rate is significantly higher. So usually you pay maybe 1% of your loan amount toward a discount cost. And then you have your title fees. So title is making sure you have clear title to the property, so there's no other liens. Nobody else owns this property but you, the new buyer. So there's title fees involved. Part of your title are an owner's policy that you get as a new owner. And then one of them is a lender policy, because that lender wants to make sure they have free and clear title. And then there's county fees. There's recording of your new mortgage on the county records, but there's also transfer taxes. There's dock stamps and intangible taxes in other counties. So there are a number of different things. Some areas require a survey and some don't. So you go on to talk to your lender to find out how much those closing costs are estimated to be. That's the first part. The second part are your prepaid costs. When you're renting, you are paying for the future rent. So your April payment pays for your April's rent, correct?
Yep.
Well, on a mortgage, your April payment pays for your May or your March's interest. Right. You're paying in the arrears. And so we have to collect the days of interest from when you close your loan. Say it's the 15th of the month. We're going to collect those all the way up to the 1st of the next month. That's your prepaid interest. And then we also have your insurance. And your insurance protects your house for the next year. And so we have to collect a whole year up front for that coverage. Same thing with property tax. You're going to start paying property tax from the day you move into your property up to the first bill. So we got to collect some of that in escrow account to make sure there's enough when it's time to make your bill. And then there's prepaid escrows. So your taxes and your insurance are also added in there, a 12th. Each month you pay a 12th of that full year's payment. So the next year, there's enough in this escrow account for those payments to be made. There's a lot involved.
So let's break it down a little bit. Like, what's in the first part one, you talked about discount costs. Just dive into that a little. Discount cost. What is
Okay.
that?
Okay. You're buying your rate down basically.
So what's that?
Okay. So what that means is if you paid zero money, maybe in today's world, you might have a 7% rate. But if you buy and pay one
Interest rate, the
interest,
interest rate.
so you
'Cause
can buy your rate down, you can pay the 1 point, and maybe your rate is the 6.625. It's significant difference on your rate. So that's what the discount is. It's buying that rate down to a lower rate.
which means you're going to pay, I'm making this up, some difference in the future? Or are you going to have to refinance or
So that
why?
discount one time, it's a one-time fee for a permanent rate lock.
Okay, so you're paying a fee to have a lower interest rate.
That's right. That's right.
Did you know that? I didn't know that. You can pay a fee. So, like, make one up. You're buying a $900,000 house. You got 150 grand to put down on it.
So that's $750,000 loan amount. 1% would be $7,500 cost for that lower rate.
Uh-huh. You pay that now, and then you don't pay 7%. You pay 6 point, whatever you said, 25
Right.
for your 30-year mortgage.
That's right. That's right.
In the long run, it's cheaper.
It can be. So right now, when the rates are higher, you don't want to buy down too much because anytime there's a recession, those rates come back down because they want to stimulate the economy again.
Yes.
So those rates are anticipated to come down, and that's when you would want to refinance. So you wouldn't necessarily want to pay too much in discount points right now. You want to pay it later when the rates are lower. So you pay a little discount, but then knowing that you want to get that lower rate when those rates lower. And that's the time to reduce your rate is when the interest rates come down.
Right. So a little bit of that might be good now, depending. And you're watching the market and all this every day. So you advise people.
That's right.
That would be good. You wouldn't be like overbuying down if there's such a thing.
That's what I call it, the sweet spot.
Okay.
So I look at each rate and how much it is and what it costs and go, oh, this one right here, this is the sweet spot. You're paying some, but not too much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So financing, kind of how to get the math right so you're not paying too much. And when the interest rates drop, you want to be able to take advantage of it and it didn't have to pay for it
Right.
in a bad way. You
Right.
can just jump on those lower interest rates when they happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so the discount cost, so that was cool. And then we talk about title companies all the time. They're looking for, they call them clouds on the title.
Yes.
What you're looking for too? Something that's going to be an issue.
Yes. So the title company does do a title search, and they do a search on the property and on the borrower. And as we've talked in other videos, that may be where tax liens come in, child support payments come in. So things like that are found out by this title. And that's the different things that title does for us. We're talking about the cost. There are their escrow fees, and that's what it includes, is those searches.
Because when you buy your house and they didn't do this stuff, you might inherit one of these problems.
Very much could.
They put a lien on the house. For example, people don't know what a lien is all the time, but let's just say the current owner of the house lost a lawsuit for $70,000. So the judge says he owes somebody $70,000. Well, the way people get back their $70,000, the person doesn't usually write a check to them. Okay. Sometimes those are wacky and weird situations. So the guy who wants his $70,000 walks down to the county recorder's office and fills out a piece of paper that says, I'm first in line for the money when this house is sold. Mm-hmm. He's in first position, right? And there can be many liens. Actually, who gets first position? I think it's the lenders.
That's right. The lender.
At first. So if a lender hasn't been paid, they put liens on the house. So first, second, third, and then the guy with his $70,000 judgment that he was given, he's in line. And it goes in that order. So when you sell the house, the first guy gets paid, the second guy gets paid, the third guy gets paid. Maybe there's no more money left. The fourth guy might not get paid. That's how the world runs. But anyway, that's a lien on the house. And the title companies are looking for this stuff because you don't want to buy a house and owe somebody $70,000. That would be ridiculous. So that's just one example, but people don't really know that that stuff happens. Mechanics liens. Maybe the guy started having work done on his house and he didn't pay his contractor. And his contractor walks into the county recorder's office and puts a $300,000 lien on him because he owes him money for all the work he did. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the proceeds from the sale of the home can go to paying other people.
Right.
And if you inherit this, yeah, we don't want to scare people. I'm sure these things have happened in life, but that's why we have title insurance, or not title insurance, but title companies to hunt down this stuff and make sure it's free and clear before it's yours.
That's right.
Right? Okay, super duper important. And then you talked about the county fees. What are those exactly? Transfer fees. Are you talking about the taxes? Oh, no, you're just talking about the fees.
It's the fees that go to the county. Every state, every county, it's different. So
right.
One of the things is typically a transfer tax. They're transferring it from one ownership to the next ownership.
And you get taxed on that.
That's right. Well, Sonoma County, where Anita is at, that is typically paid by the seller. But you have to know that and negotiate that in the contract. So that it's still considered a fee, but then the seller pays for that fee.
Right. The buyer doesn't have to worry about that. Right. In this county. Yeah. Right. There's 58 counties in the state and they all do similar things, but some different things. They all haven't voted for transfer taxes. So, yeah, I mean, all these property kind of taxes and county taxes pay for your roads and your street lights and all kinds of things that we enjoy. So that's what those are for. Okay. And that's all wrapped up in, okay, so there's taxes and fees, and that's all county stuff. All right. And then, and we talked about the counties are different. Are there any other taxes that people pay?
Well, there's property taxes.
There's property taxes.
Yes. So,
but that's not really part of closing costs. That's kind of wrapped up in the loan.
Well, that's called prepaid costs. You're prepaying the taxes in advance, but you're talking about the county taxes. So each county's different. Okay. So like I said, it's just the transfer tax. Now, one thing for people to know is none of these things you have to pay up front except for the appraisal. The appraisal is the only thing in the county of Sonoma County where Anita's at. It's the only thing that you have to pay up front. So people kind of get afraid of that. It gets paid at closing. And up front, you learn all these fees. We give all these fees to you. And by law, certain fees cannot change. And then some can only change by 10%. So you have a really strong idea of how much those closing costs are at the very beginning of your escrow. And then, so it's not a surprise anymore at the end when you see how much you're bringing. It's all been disclosed all along the way.
Right. So a lot of people don't know that in the process of escrow, the 30 days that all kinds of stuff is going on and 100 hands are in the process of making sure you can get this house. An appraiser comes out representing you, the lender, to say, okay, we think this house is worth $900,000, and he gets paid about $500 on average, right? But they don't have to go writing him a check. They usually don't even know he came and went.
These days,
the buyer doesn't see them.
The appraisal is paid up front. That's the one thing that you have.
So they do write him a check.
Well, it's sent on an email and they put it on a credit card or some form of payment.
I see. Yes. Okay. Before they'll send you the appraisal report.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So super important to know. So there's things you need cash for just to get kind of digging into this process of buying a home. We had the inspections, pest inspection, home inspection earlier on in the process. Those are each $500. And then you're going to pay for an appraiser up front.
Yes. And the last part is your earnest money deposit.
And your earnest money.
Yes.
Okay. So, and the earnest money becomes a part of your down payment.
That's right.
Eventually. The earnest money or initial deposit is what you put down at the title company the day they accepted you making your offer. That was really a long way of putting that. You made an offer and they accepted it. Now you have 3 days to go to the title company and bring your 3%. 3% of the price you just offered them. Okay.
Yes.
So if it's 900,000, 3 times 9 is $27,000. You're going to bring $27,000 to the title company, and that opens escrow. Sometimes we can open it earlier, but that's usually the launch day. And then Rebecca gets a copy. She knows to start working on your loan. And then the whole 30-day process starts. And that becomes a part of your down payment in the end. You'll see that on the paper that you look at that shows you all these costs and fees. It'll all come together in the end. But the earnest money just kind of launches the rocket and gets this all going, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what else? So closing costs. There's a few things, and there's part 1 and part 2.
That's right. So
Okay.
let me add a little bit to that earnest money deposit.
All right.
Some people, like a VA borrower, they get 100% financing, but yet they had to put some earnest money deposit down. The question would be, where does that money go? You get that money back. So it helps you cover your closing cost, but anything that you've
So
paid.
listen up, people. If you're in the military and you want to buy a house, you don't have to come up with the down payment. But
That's right.
listen to Rebecca, this is huge. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So if you put 3% down, you maybe 10,000 in your closing cost, and you get the rest back at closing. The title company will cut you a check back for what you've overspent. And someone else getting a conventional loan, that 3%, potentially 3% earnest money goes towards your down payment. I will tell you that you can get that money back if your inspections don't go well, if the
Yes.
appraisal doesn't go well, if you don't get your financing. There is a drop dead date basically that says that you have to get all these things done. And if you can't get financing at that point, you get your money back.
Right. But you're getting a
So,
VA loan. There are
well,
some qualifications.
there's VA, and then there is the conventional as well. No matter what kind of loan you get, you have that window of time to make sure this is really the house you want. And then if you back out, then that money comes back to you.
Right, right. For anybody, the initial deposit is just
Yes,
show me the money, right?
that's
That's
right.
all it is you're showing the seller you're serious about this offer, because an offer is just blue ink on a paper. I'll
Yes,
pay you $900,000 for this house, or I'm making an offer. It doesn't mean anything until money's exchanged. That's actually a contract. People don't know that little legal schmiggle there, but when you put down your money, you're showing them you're serious, and that's a contract right there at the title company. And that launches this whole chain of events, which we've been talking about. So, yeah. And if it doesn't work out, you get it back if we take care of business within a certain amount of time, which in California is 17 days for inspections and 21 days for the loan, right? So Rebecca knows that she has to package the loan, or you have to qualify, and all these factors have to happen within 21 days. Or you might find out you can't afford a house, or you can't buy a house, or you made a mistake along the way, like you bought a car. We don't want to talk about all that. But we have 21 days to get a loan together, 17 days to do inspections. And if for some horrific reason, which we just don't even let these happen, something happened in those periods of time, you get your earnest money back. Otherwise, it turns into your down payment, or goes into the pile of money that's your down payment for your house. And we're getting closer to you getting keys to your front door, right?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a little bit of money involved in the purchase of a home besides just your down payment, right?
Mhm.
All right, the closing costs. So when you hear that, you'll know what it is. There's a few stages in there, but there's a lot of people involved in the process of making this all happen. And they all get paid along the way, and it costs things to make this all happen. It just doesn't magically get you a house. So closing costs and fees. Anything else to wrap it up?
One extra thing is
Okay,
some people
a
don't
bonus.
have a lot of some people don't have a lot of extra money for
Yeah.
all these closing costs. You can actually negotiate in the sale of the property to have the seller pay some of these for you.
And we're kind of getting to that kind of time, aren't we?
We are. Sellers are more motivated, so they're
They
willing to help. So don't think that, oh, I don't have an extra 10,000 or whatever it is, I can't do this, because
Yeah,
sellers can step in and help you.
they can. If they're super motivated, maybe the house is vacant. They've been in another state for 4 months already and they want to move it along. And that's not really happening around the Bay Area because there's like 5 houses on the market right now in February 2023. If you put your house on the market, you're probably going to sell it in 3 days. But there's areas and places like Redding, California, where they're lingering. And so to help the buyer out, the seller might pay those fees, right? Yeah, those are really good things to know. And we go over and over those because buyers just don't know kind of all the tricks. I mean, also what happens is we inspect the house and there's $8,000 worth of termite damage or some kind of damage that actually has a monetary value on the report. And maybe we negotiate for the seller to give them credit towards closing. You don't want to hear that, right? Rebecca's the lender. She doesn't want to hear that there's problems with the house.
No,
But
we
that
just
is done in the process of negotiating, just so you'll know, buyer. Uh, the sellers pay for stuff. They have to pay or repair for the damages of the house, one way or the other. And that's a very common thing. All right, so we got the closing costs and all those details. Anything else?
I don't think so. That covered a lot of information.
I know. No, it's huge information because sometimes people find it out at the wrong time or they just didn't know. And watch this video a few times before you buy a house because you'll get closing costs. It's just a part of the deal. It's what happens. So anyway, thank you for watching. And the next video is coming up right there. Subscribe to my channel and give me a like. If you like this channel, I put out a new video every single Friday and I want to see you on them. I'll see you later.